Welcome back. You're watching part 3 of our series Defense Against the Dark Arts of Wildfires. We are Rocky Mountain Wildfire Mitigation, and we're here to make land management simple, effective, and maybe even a little fun. Last time we talked about building defensible spaces, but today we're going to dive deeper into the why. We're talking about the fuels themselves, the plants. How do we measure the danger of the vegetation on your property? It's not as simple as just clearing everything out. That's kind of the easy answer, but it can be a little more complicated than that, and we're going to break that down for you. We use three measures: ignitability, sustainability, and combustibility. And we're using these words a little bit different than you might be used to using them. So let's dive into it. Ignitability is the question of, will it catch fire? And it's pretty simple. How fast is a plant going to burst into flames when that wildfire shows up and temperatures are between 650 and 1100 degrees? How quickly is it going to burst into flames? And if you're thinking about it like baking cookies, if you have a thin cookie in a hot oven, it's going to burn almost instantly. But if you put a giant thick cake in that same oven at that same temperature, it's going to take a little bit longer for the insides to burn. Plants are a little similar. So moisture and thickness are keys here. The drier and thinner the leaves, the faster they ignite. Think a dry savanna, yellow grass, highly ignitable. But then the opposite, a north-facing, very thick, fleshy shrub full of thick vines and water, that's going to be a lot harder to produce. It's going to take more heat and more time to make that thick shrub on the north face go poof up in flames. On to sustainability. And this isn't how we traditionally use the word sustainability. We're talking about the sustainability of the fire itself. So how long can that plant sustain the fire? And it's all about the dry fuel available. Think of a pile of dry twigs versus a giant log. The twigs flare up and are gone in seconds. They will quickly eat up all their fuel. And on the other end of the spectrum, a giant, thick redwood log that could burn for hours or even days. The same thing happens with landscapes. Dense scrub brush will flare up intensely but burn out quickly. It has low sustainability. But a conifer forest with all that very dense wood, that fire can sustain itself for days, becoming a nightmare to try to stop. The last component we're going to talk about, combustibility. How hot is it? This is a big one. How much heat does the plant or landscape produce when it's ablaze? And it's not just about temperature, it's about thermal radiation. The more heat the fire generates, the greater the radiation, the more it creates its own wind. And you guessed it, the faster that fire spreads. The density and amount of dry fuel are what determine combustibility. Grasslands, for instance, don't have much stuff to burn, but they have high ignitability. They'll easily catch fire, and they do frequently, but they produce low heat and they're much easier to extinguish. Opposite, think about a dense forest. It's so packed, there is a lot of dry fuel. So when it does finally ignite, the result is devastating. It burns with intense heat, making it extremely difficult and dangerous to extinguish. We kind of compared two examples there. A mixed evergreen forest full of dense trees, low ignitability, hard to catch fire, but once it does, highly sustainable and highly combustible. So when you do have that record drought after 20 years, the forest burns down and it's a nightmare. On the other hand, the other example we talked about was the grasslands. High ignitability, meaning they catch fire and burn frequently, but when they do, low sustainability, low combustibility, meaning that when the fire hits a managed grassland, it's going to burn fast and produce less heat and be easier to extinguish. And that concludes lesson 3 of the dark art of wildfire protection, and defense. And now you'll know a little more about evaluating your plants and your property. By knowing which of these three measures your vegetation scores high on, you can make smarter, safer, and faster choices about your own fire mitigation. And if you're feeling a little unsure about it, how to evaluate it, or if that sounds like too much, don't worry, we'll take care of that. We love doing land management and defensive spaces. We make landscapes safer. Visit us at RockyMountainWM.com. Reach out to us for a free quote or information, and let's make your home's fire defense strong. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.